When I used to work in an office, I would bring the most boring and bland meals for lunch that I meal prepped on Sunday, and honestly, they would taste gross by Wednesday. Then sometimes I would just end up spending money on something unhealthy because I didn't think I could actually make tasty, healthy, and filling meals to bring with me. But my goal with this video is to show you that that's possible. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Amanda, aka Fit Food AE, and today we're making 15 high protein, low calorie meal preppable recipes. These all have 40 grams of protein or more each, and they can be easily taken to work or school. So let's get started, shall we? So first up, we've got what I think is the best overnight oats recipe that I've ever made, and that's tiramisu overnight oats. Now, I love overnight oats because you could just be so creative, make so many different flavors. Personally, I think that overnight oats taste best out of the fridge like 3 days after you make them. So they could be easily prepped like on a Sunday for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then you could prep them again on Wednesday if you so choose. But yeah, so the cream part of the overnight oats, I'd recommend just putting this all in a blender if you can rather than mixing it because it's going to be the most smooth. But I absolutely love the taste of it. It literally tastes like dessert. So for all my overnight oats recipes, pretty much, I do like an oat layer and then I do like a cream / ganache layer. So in the actual oat layer, there's going to be a bit of coffee and all that to give it that tiramisu taste. And then we're going to pour the ganache layer on top. Make sure to spread it out with a spoon. Honestly, for overnight oats, like you should put them overnight, but you can really put them for like 3 hours or more and they'll be totally fine. It gives the oats enough time to soak in the fridge and get thick. Just look at how creamy and delicious these oats look. Under 400 calories and over 40 grams of protein. Again, best overnight oats recipe that I've made personally. I get a lot of questions on these containers. So these are actually from HomeSense. It's a store in Canada. They don't have an online store, unfortunately, but you could also get them on Amazon, like get something similar. You could just search for like ceramic containers. I also like to have overnight oats in mason jars as well, so you could try that out. By the way, you'll notice for these overnight oats recipes, I only made 1 serving, but you can easily multiply the ingredients by 3 and then meal prep 3 servings. So I'll leave that in the description. Next up, we've got birthday cake overnight oats. So this is somewhat similar to the other recipe in the sense that we got an oat layer and a ganache layer, but yeah, it doesn't need to be your birthday to enjoy birthday cake overnight oats. Of course, in all of these recipes that have protein powder, I use PE Science, so it is a whey casein blend. You could use regular whey protein or anything really for this recipe because it's no bake. That's totally fine, but if you want to purchase from PE Science, please use my discount code FIT15. But anyway, yeah, things that make this recipe also higher in protein, obviously the Fairlife milk, like the higher protein milk, but you could use any other high protein milk or just regular, and then also the non-fat Greek yogurt. I would recommend topping with the sprinkles after you store it in the fridge overnight because otherwise the sprinkles are going to seep in and like the colors are going to kind of bleed. If you don't care about that, then that's totally fine, but obviously I have to post my recipes on the internet, but yeah, I love these little star sprinkles. They're so cute. Keep in mind, those sprinkles are actually like relatively high in calories because they're all sugar. So just keep that in mind when portioning it out and putting it on your overnight oats. But yeah, these are so creamy and delicious. Next up, we've got a couple pancake bowls. So this is a banana chocolate chip pancake bowl. So what I did to make this easy is I mixed all the ingredients in the glass container. Basically, it just makes it easy because it's one bowl and it's also really easy to meal prep. Again, for this recipe, I just made 1 serving, but you could easily meal prep this into a few. I'd recommend maybe making like 3 at a time. And then what you can do is bake them and then leave them in the fridge. And then when you want to microwave them and eat them, you can go ahead. You could also eat it at room temperature. But yeah, this is super easy to make because it's all just in 1 glass container. You mix it and you bake it all in the same glass container. It's a great alternative if you love pancakes but just want to eat it in like a different way. You could also top it with maple syrup if you really wanted to. Another thing with the pancake bowls is make sure to not overbake or underbake. They can be a bit finicky, so I'd recommend going on the lower end to the bake time and then sticking the fork in the middle to make sure it comes out clean. Next up, we've got a cinnamon roll pancake bowl. So this is somewhat similar to the other pancake bowl recipe, but I guess it's technically not one bowl because you need to mix the frosting ingredients in a different bowl. But yeah, these 2 pancake bowls contain protein powder. I've also posted a few pancake bowl recipes without protein powder. I'll link the video there on the screen so you could take a look at it just in case you don't want to use protein powder. But yeah, I just mix the filling ingredients in a separate little bowl and then you add it like globs like that, and then basically just use like a knife to swirl it around just like a little cinnamon roll. But yeah, this is one of those breakfasts where like if you bring it with you to work or school, everyone's gonna be jealous. So normally for cream cheese frosting, I'm an advocate with like using an electric mixer to mix it together because it could be clumpy, but obviously this is a very small amount. So I'd recommend maybe just warming up the cream cheese or trying to use like that milk frother, but didn't really work that well. But yeah, if the cheesecake frosting is like a tiny bit like chunky like that, that's totally fine. But yeah, I like to just swirl it on like that. It looks so good. This is the definition of like having dessert for breakfast. Couple more breakfast recipes. We've got a tofu scramble breakfast burrito. Now, I used to be absolutely obsessed with tofu scramble. I would make it all the time for meal prep, and I just think burritos are super fun and filling. So you're gonna start off by pressing the tofu. I honestly just use like a paper towel, nothing really crazy. And then for the tofu scramble, I just rip it into like small, medium pieces. Again, like no real formula for this, but make sure to use extra firm tofu. That's gonna be the easiest thing for you. Once you rip it all apart, you're gonna make the coating for the tofu scramble. So just mix together like nutritional yeast and some spices and then the Fairlife milk. And then you're gonna use that later to pour over the tofu scramble. But yeah, basically just set that aside. No, this recipe isn't vegan because there's cottage cheese, but I guess in theory you could use like vegan cottage cheese if you really wanted to. I don't really, or you would also have to use vegan milk. I don't really have vegan recipes, but yeah, just blend all this together. This is for the sauce. So there's gonna be like an actual, like, I guess there's like a coating for the tofu and then there's like a sauce. So there's a couple things, we got a couple steps for this recipe, but it is well worth it. So just cook the tofu a little bit for a couple minutes and then add the coating here. And it's gonna smell heavily of turmeric and it's gonna be very yellow just because turmeric is like a dye. I feel like if you get turmeric on your clothes, it's like game over for your clothes. But yeah, basically make sure to not have the pan on like too high of heat either. And then you're gonna warm up the tortilla for 30 seconds, obviously, as I've always said, before wrapping your burrito, and then just put all the ingredients together like so. And then you could put them in the air fryer if you intend on eating them, or you could also just put them in the freezer and then air fry them once you're ready to eat. You don't necessarily have to air fry, you could also microwave, but yeah, this recipe makes 2 burritos. You could also double it and make 4. These could easily be eaten throughout the week, especially if you freeze them. They will definitely keep towards the end of the week. But yeah, these are so delicious and filling. I just love breakfast burritos. And we got a second breakfast burrito recipe. So this one is a Beyond Meat breakfast burrito. So basically, got to make your onions on the stovetop first and then add the Beyond Meat. You could also use regular ground beef if you're not vegetarian like me. I absolutely love Beyond Meat. I don't like the price of it though. It's super expensive, but make sure to cook it until it's like brown. You're gonna need a lot of eggs for this recipe. You might get some shells in there, so just make sure to take them out. But I don't know if there's an easier way to crack the eggs and not get shells in them, but to make these eggs super fluffy, we're actually going to add blended cottage cheese into there, and then this makes them so fluffy and delicious. It does dilute the color a bit though, so make sure to get the orange yolks just so the scrambled eggs are nice and like bright yellow. If you care about that, I certainly care about that. So for eggs, we got to cook them low and slow. I always say this on here, low and slow, and just continuously stir around. We don't want to make the heat too high, otherwise they're going to burn. Honestly, if you look at some of my older recipes, you'll see that I literally used to burn the eggs and it was so embarrassing. I don't know why people could watch my videos back then, but now look, they're nice and fluffy. And you're going to add the spices, so salt, garlic powder, and paprika. Make sure to add these on like either like towards the end. That's actually what I usually like to do, is add them on towards the end. But yeah, they're gonna look like this. And then obviously microwave your tortilla 30 seconds and then add all the ingredients there like so. So the eggs and Beyond Meat and the cilantro crema. Of course, you can add a different sauce. It doesn't need to be cilantro crema. And you're gonna wrap it all together. This wrap looks really, really delicious. I like to wrap it nice and tight. Again, I don't know if people at Chipotle do this, how they have the burritos like so full and then it looks like they're gonna break the burrito, but they don't end up doing that. And then you could just store them in the freezer, or again, if you're ready to eat them, you could put them in the air fryer. I didn't eat all these at once. I just kind of did it as a demonstration. If you accidentally air fry it and don't eat it, you could also put that in the freezer too, don't worry. But yeah, basically this recipe can easily make it into 4, and each wrap has 40 grams of protein, which is so good, and they're vegetarian, which is a plus too. So now we're on to lunch and dinner recipes that can be meal prep. We're starting off with tofu nuggets or tofu, popcorn tofu. I don't really know what to call it, but yeah, basically start off by pressing the tofu with the paper towel like I always do. And then same as the tofu scramble burritos, you're going to rip it up into small, medium pieces. I like to kind of use different pieces just to add variety. You could also freeze a tofu after you rip it up into pieces, but what I like to do is just freeze it after I've added all the coatings, which you'll see after. But yeah, this is kind of annoying and takes a while. Honestly, this recipe, I'm not gonna lie, like is kind of a pain to make because it takes a while with all the dips. But yeah, basically you're gonna make the milk mixture first. So I use Fairlife milk and then the lemon juice, and then you're gonna add the all-purpose flour and the spices into one bowl, and then the breadcrumbs into another bowl. So I use like panko breadcrumbs. You could also use crushed up cornflakes, whatever you want, or any other breadcrumbs. But yeah, you're basically gonna have 3 dipping stations. You're gonna need the whole table for this. So you kind of have to go one by one, or I guess you could go 2 at a time as well. But then yeah, basically dunking it in the milk, dipping it into the flour, and then dunking into milk again and dipping it into the breadcrumbs. So basically milk, flour, milk, breadcrumbs, plate. And you're just going to keep doing that until they're all done. And the pain is worth it because this recipe makes either 3 servings or 2 servings, depending on how big you want to make it. But you could also even do like 2 blocks of tofu and then just make like a bunch of servings for the week. So this recipe works extremely well for meal prep because you literally just keep them in the freezer, and then once you're ready to eat, you air fry them. If you don't have an air fryer, like wherever you're going, work or school, I'd recommend just like air frying them in the morning and then putting it in a Tupperware with you and eating it, and then just making sure to bring some dipping sauces, so maybe like ketchup or hot sauce or mustard. But yeah, I air fry it for about 15 minutes or so, and you want to check halfway through and like shake it and then just check to make sure that they're cooking really nicely. But then you want them to be kind of like golden brown, obviously not burnt, but I'd rather they be a little bit on the burnt side than the underdone side. But yeah, I just really like to pair them with ketchup, and they're basically like the KFC popcorn chicken but tofu version. Up next, we got a shawarma bowl. I absolutely love this recipe. I have the ingredients for it in my fridge right now. So you're gonna make the garlic sauce first. And again, this could be prep. You can make like multiple servings of it. This recipe in the video makes 2 servings, but you could easily double it to 4. I'd recommend maybe just doing like the vegetables fresher, like for the lettuce, maybe do like 2 servings at a time. But yeah, lots of veggies in this recipe. Obviously the red onions and the lettuce, and I use Beyond Meat steak tips. You could definitely use regular steak tips, but I basically model this recipe after Osmo Shawarma. It's this like shawarma place in Canada, and they have Beyond Meat steak tips. They used to have the Beyond Meat ground, but then they actually started using the steak tips, which is how I got introduced to them. I was like, well, I didn't even know that Beyond Meat had this product. But yeah, basically, obviously rice is super easy to meal prep, especially if you have a rice cooker. But I just put the sauce in a plastic bag and just like squirted it kind of all over, and then also the hot sauce. But yeah, this looks so good, and it's so easy to meal prep. Obviously I made it look pretty like this, but if you're meal prepping it, I'd recommend putting the sauce in a separate little container or like in a little plastic bag, and then just adding it once you're ready to eat. This recipe, I make it literally all the time. I made it for a potluck this weekend for my friends, but is my cheeseburger mac and cheese. So caramelized onions, I'd recommend just doing that first because it takes a while. And then obviously the sauce. This recipe makes 4 servings and it keeps in the fridge so well. Again, I literally make it every single week. I have 2 servings in my fridge right now. I'm literally going to eat one after I record this. But yeah, you're going to need, like, obviously a food processor works better than an actual blender, but I just blended it in my Zwilling blender, the cheese sauce. And then, yeah, basically I use Beyond Meat. You can obviously use regular ground beef if you want. And for the pasta, I use protein pasta by Catelli. This is higher in protein. It's great. You could also use regular pasta if you can't find it, or chickpea pasta, like another higher protein version's good. So I would add the Beyond ground and the onions in there, and then afterwards add the cheese sauce. And if you want to add more veggies, you could also add green onion. I actually did it this weekend. Or you could also add pickles to make it more like cheeseburger-y. But I know some people don't like pickles in pasta. So because I made it for my friends this weekend, I was like, I want to play it safe. But yeah, I absolutely love this cheese sauce. It's so high in protein and delicious and creamy. It's a real crowd pleaser. I feel like pretty much everyone loves this recipe. I mean, you can't go wrong with cheese and pasta. And then yeah, I topped it with some chives as well. You could also top it with some everything bagel seasoning just to make it more burger-like. But yeah, this keeps so well. You can just microwave it, or you can even eat it cold, because I like to eat pasta cold sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. So next up, we've got our copycat Chipotle bowls. So I love Chipotle, but sometimes it can get expensive, and their portions are also really big. So we want to make like a healthier version sometimes. So I use Beyond Meat for this recipe. Again, I'm using Beyond Meat quite a bit, but you can kind of use whatever you want. I know at Chipotle they use sofritas, but those are just like way harder to make. And I was like, hey, I like it when my recipes are easier, but these are honestly so easy to assemble. You just put your ingredients of choice, and then I blended light cottage cheese and non-fat Greek yogurt for the sour cream copycat. But yeah, that's basically what it looks like. You can obviously add the veggies to be fresher like every couple of days if you want to meal prep this for 4 days, and then obviously just keep the sour cream separate. But this looks so delicious, and I just love how the cheese is so melty. Next up, we've got sushi bowls, poke bowl, whatever you want to call it. So I'm using extra firm tofu for my recipe. You could even use fish if you really wanted to, but yeah, either way, very easily meal preppable. So for this tofu, I'm not cutting it. I'm not doing a tofu scramble. I'm doing cubes here. And I decided to use 2 things of tofu scramble because we're going to make 4 servings for this recipe. But of course, you could do 2 servings. I've made this recipe for 4 servings, and it keeps totally fine in the fridge for 4 days. Yeah, you're going to toss it in the soy sauce and set it aside. Lots of veggies in this recipe. Again, if you really want to, you could cut the veggies like only 2 days in advance. But for me personally, these veggies kept fine in the fridge. But you're gonna want to air fry the tofu. You could also eat it raw. I know a lot of people do that for poke bowls, and tofu is totally fine to eat raw. But if you're eating fish, definitely don't do that. But yeah, similar to the other recipe, we're doing the non-fat Greek yogurt and cottage cheese like blended together. But then instead, we're going to sort of like put it in a bag and sort of like squirt it all over, similar to the Shawarma Bowl recipe. But yeah, you want to make sure this is fully blended and that it's not like chunky or anything like that, because I've accidentally not blended it properly and it was chunky, and I was like, oh my god, I've done that before. But yeah, lots of edamame for this recipe. Again, want to make it low calorie, high protein. These sushi bowls have 400 calories and 40 grams of protein, so I want those macros to be A1. But yeah, edamame is really good. Just make sure to salt it or buy the salted one. And cauliflower rice, again, you guys know I'm normally not an advocate for cauliflower rice. Like, I normally make fun of it, but I feel like if you add the right sauces and the right spices, it could actually be really good. And I just wanted to make the macros like amazing for this recipe. So yeah, as long as you bulk up the bowl with different things, and as long as you're not just like whenever you want rice, like replacing with cauliflower rice, like it's totally fine. I definitely should have used a bigger pan for this because I feel like it's kind of overflowing. But yeah, we're using garlic powder, salt, paprika, and basically you're gonna divide everything to 4 portions. So you're gonna have to weigh everything out, which takes a while, but so just weigh everything out. And yeah, you wanna make sure it's all even. And then I also added seaweed salad in the middle. I'm obsessed with seaweed salad. I could honestly add even more seaweed salad if I wanted to, but like honestly, it's kind of expensive. So I just limited it to that. And then yeah, basically look at how the sauce looks. This bowl is actually really aesthetically pleasing. I was really happy with myself. But yeah, you're gonna put the sesame seeds on top as well for some extra crunch and extra aesthetic. But yeah, this makes 4 servings. I also put the ginger just to make it more colorful, and then I just put the other servings in a Tupperware. Lastly, for the lunch and dinner recipes, we've got this cheesy pasta bowl. So this is so cheesy and creamy and full of veggies and high in volume. So I'm gonna make the cheese sauce first. Again, this recipe makes 4 servings, so it's perfect for meal prep. I've eaten it after 4 days and it's been totally fine, but if you really want to, you can make the veggies like 2 days ahead of time if you so choose. But yeah, I decided to use zucchini and cauliflower florets because these are like super high in volume and they work really well in the air fryer because I wanted to air fry these veggies. So added salt, garlic powder, and paprika. You can really add any seasonings that you want. I just put them in like a big bowl and then you air fry them. Depends on your basket, but my one is like 2 baskets, so I just kind of separated them and then put them in for like 15-20 minutes. Make sure to shake halfway through just so they don't burn. But yeah, I use chickpea pasta. Again, you could use the Catelli protein pasta. I think I just didn't have the Catelli one available, but either one really works. Just high protein pasta works best just to make the macros like 400 calories, 40 grams of protein. That's what I aim for these recipes. But yeah, put the veggies in next and then you cover with the sauce. For the sauce, if you find that it's not viscous enough, you can always add like more liquid, or if you accidentally made it too liquidy, you can just put it in the fridge and it'll usually thick up. Yeah, but then mix it all together. It looks so cheesy and delish. You can even add more spices if you want, and then divide into 4 portions. Just use food scale for this. Obviously, whatever you're eating right now, you can put in a bowl and then just put the rest in a Tupperware, and then literally glistens. It looks so, so good. You might be asking, okay, Amanda, how about meal prepping snacks? Like, what if I don't have protein bars and I want to meal prep some snacks? I got you. These cheesecake bowls are absolutely perfect. I actually have a couple of cannoli cheesecake bowls in my fridge prepped to eat for the week as we speak. But yeah, these keep for like a few days. So I'd recommend just making maybe like 3 at a time. And they're really easy to make all at once. You literally just use a bowl and like use an electric mixer and mix it all at once. And then you'll see that for each of these recipes, I'm making 1 portion, but you could easily like triple the ingredients or whatever. So all the ingredients are going to be in the description, by the way. But yeah, this is a cannoli cheesecake bowl and it looks so, so good. It literally looks like cannoli dip. And the waffle cones, these are perfect. You could put them like in a bag and portion them out, or you could just eat it with a spoon. Yeah, obviously the waffle cone pieces add some extra calories. So if you want, you could eat like half the dip and then use the waffle cone pieces, or you could eat it with a spoon, whatever your macros allow. But this looks so delicious and creamy, and the swerve 0-calorie powdered sugar really helps it with that like frosting texture and taste. Next up, we've got the Biscoff Cheesecake Bowl. This one might be my favorite more than the cannoli one. Honestly, like I'm obsessed with it. I made the cannoli cheesecake one for my Thanksgiving potluck the other day, but I made this for one of my other potlucks for my friends and they are obsessed with it. The Key Science Snickerdoodle protein, it really makes a big difference. If you don't have that though, you just use vanilla protein and add a little bit of cinnamon to it. But yeah, you could also put the toppings on after. I don't know why I put them on before, but it just makes it a bit easier. And the Biscoff squeeze bottle, by the way, I got that on Amazon. But if you don't have it, you could just melt regular Biscoff and then just drizzle it on top. But look how delicious and glistening this looks. So good and so thick. And lastly, we've got a strawberry shortcake cheesecake bowl. So plenty of options. I also have other cheesecake bowl recipes in a different video. So I'll link the video up here so you can watch that. If you want, there's 15 cheesecake recipes in there and a lot of them are bowl recipes. But yeah, I use the Jell-O strawberry powder to make it nice and red and strawberry. And then I covered it in crushed golden Oreo. It looks so, so good. So yeah, by the way, for all these cheesecake recipes, you have to store them in the fridge for at least 3 hours or overnight. This is what makes them thick. I mean, you don't have to do that, but I just recommend it because it makes it thicker and more delicious. So look at that. It literally looks like Dunkaroos frosting. Oh my God, I am obsessed with these and how pink it looks. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed these recipes, and I'm sure you're looking for more recipes that you can meal prep, so I'll link a video here that you should watch next. It has some pancake bowl recipes that don't have protein powder. These can also be meal prepped. And be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, as it really helps the channel. And I post new videos every week. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.